for the life of me, I can't come up with any rationale or reason for this.
So there's two things that you think of. Number one, they maybe want the votes. They think that they're going to get these people registered and to vote and everything
I'll give you
else.
citizenship. I hope you remember me at the polls.
All sorts of things, but I don't know. I'm doing very well with Hispanic, and you have a lot of Hispanic coming. But the fact...
Yes, that's Trump saying he's doing very well with Hispanic. I unfortunately have much more to play for you from the interview between Sean Hannity and Donald Trump at the southern border, and it gets much worse. Quickly, before playing another moment, I do want to remind you to click the like button if you would, and the alert bell as well. That's very helpful. And also, more importantly, remind you that we cannot get numb to the insanity of Donald Trump and MAGA. That's how we get complacent. And so as I walk you through these moments, as I often say, I want you to keep in mind that a massive portion of this country thinks this man is reasonable, and he's nearly inevitably going to be the nominee for one of the two major parties for president in the most powerful country on the planet. The guy who tried to block the peaceful transfer of power last time he was president has called for the termination of the Constitution, said the government should come down hard on media outlets he doesn't like, was found liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll, defaming her, and for business fraud. Countless people who worked closely with him are saying he's a threat to democracy, and he's openly echoing the rhetoric of Hitler over and over again, like this.
They wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't stand for it. So it's a very terrible thing. Our country is being poisoned. We're really being poisoned. And
of course, this comes after moments like this one in past interviews.
Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from. And we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country. It's so bad.
As we've talked about, that sort of terminology replicates the language of Hitler, obviously super dangerous. And we also talked about in a segment yesterday, while covering Biden and Trump's parallel visits to the border. On one side, you had Biden talking in a level-headed manner about how we can address issues at the southern border, and he's supporting strong legislation that's endorsed by the Border Patrol Union. Then on the other, you have Trump, who's responsible for convincing MAGA Republicans to kill that legislation to hurt Biden politically, while he fearmongers and rambles about how people are coming from insane asylums or whatever it might be. Fearmongering and nonsense versus actual problem solving and at least an ambition to govern if he'd stop being obstructed. That's the contrast between the two individuals. And then it's not a Trump speech or interview without him insisting he's cognitively fine because he took a dementia screening test.
But I took two of them, and I aced both of them, I'm very proud to say, meaning I got it all right.
Ronnie
and Ronnie Jackson did one. They're not that easy. You know, they show you the first ones are pretty easy. And then you get into the middle category. Then you get to the end questions. Very few people could answer those questions. They're actually very tough.
I've seen the test.
Stop it. Stop. The more you bring that up and go, oh my gosh, I'm so smart because I took this test that's supposed to screen for dementia and brain damage, the worse you look. So I guess keep doing it. Never mind. Ignore that advice. And no, at the end, there aren't tough questions. Pretty basic stuff as we've gone over in the past. And by the way, I've never seen someone talk about how cognitively okay they are more than Donald Trump, which definitely bolsters the sense that he's anything but cognitively okay. And by the way, there was a good piece out of Salon that documents the assessment of Dr. Gartner, who also appeared recently on the David Pakman show. And the Salon piece is titled Dr. John Gartner on A Tale of Two Brains. Biden's brain's aging. Trump's brain is dementing. And one excerpt reads as follows. There's also this focus on Biden's gaffes or other things that are well within the normal limits of aging. By comparison, Trump appears to be showing gross signs of dementia. This is a tale of two brains. Biden's brain's aging. Trump's brain is dementing. And Dr. Gardner talks about how Biden's showing normal signs of aging that impacts, sure, his ability to deliver compelling speeches, but not his ability to govern and make wise decisions as president. Whereas Trump's brain, based on the observational evidence laid out in this article, is showing signs of dementia-esque deterioration. Again, I'll link the article in the description if you want to check it out. But essentially, there are tells of either situation, even though the media discussion on the two seems a little bit backwards. Then here's another moment from his interview now on the subject of the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
They have gone, much different than a lot of people thought. But everybody on both sides said it has to be in the states. We did a very good thing, a very big thing, a very important thing. Probably hurt the Republicans because a lot of Republicans really didn't know how to talk about it.
So it's just delusional to say that both sides thought the rights of women are best left to the states. Ridiculous. And before responding more, here's this one.
And I said, what's the issue? What is it? Explain. What is it exactly? And we're talking about the IVF. And I said, we want that. We want people to help. We're on the side of women.
Yes, the civilly liable sexual abuser who's responsible for the overturning of Roe v. Wade with the justices he got on the court. He's on the side of women. Doesn't sound exactly right. But I guess there he's also saying he disagrees with the Alabama Supreme Court's IVF ruling. And we've seen Republicans, for good reason, struggling to respond to that ruling because of how insane it was. But I really do hope, and I actually expect, that among all of the other massive existential issues we're facing in this election, the reproductive rights of women will be one of the things that's responsible when we're looking back on this moment for a blowout election for the Democrats. Then, of course, Trump makes his insane argument in this interview that presidents should have total immunity, this coming in the wake of the Supreme Court agreeing to hear his immunity case.
If you're going to make a big decision as president and you're afraid that as soon as you get out, you're going to be indicted by the opposition party, by the Democrats, by the radical left lunatics who will indict you and try and put you in prison because you're trying to do something good for the country, even if it's severe, the severe may be a great thing for the country. They have to have presidential immunity. If you don't have immunity for a president, and I'm not talking about only me, if you don't have immunity for a president, you will not be able to function properly. You will not be able to do the right thing for the country.
And then they have...
It's strange. The whole first half of that clip was him rambling about if you do something, you'll get indicted by the Democrats and you'll be sad because you wanted to end democracy. And why can't you end democracy? And you really didn't think that you should have lost to Joe Biden. You love that Diet Coke button on your desk in the Oval Office. You didn't want to lose it. And you knew that Melania would stop talking to you if you didn't have power anymore. And no, not you. Me is the word you're looking for. You're talking about yourself, Trump. And that's why he realizes, sort of mid-clip, how it sounds and goes, oh, I mean, any president, to be clear, should have immunity. I'm not just talking about me, please. Now, of course, the obvious follow-up is, okay, since you were trying to block the peaceful transfer of power, and that's what we're talking about here, and prevent the American people from deciding the president, and you think you should have immunity for that, well then, let's just take that logic to its conclusion, and Joe Biden then can do the same thing this time around with immunity. Joe, good news. Not really, because we respect democracy, but tongue-in-cheek, good news. Trump says that you can cancel the election and do whatever you want with immunity. Such a crazy argument. Republicans, please, 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 really think about if the roles were reversed and Joe Biden had tried to block the peaceful transfer of power, which, you know, in the future, this election go round, and then tried to assert immunity from criminal prosecution and thinks that he should just be able to act in any way he wants while president and get away with it, even if it violates the law. You would be screaming about a dictator. And so would those who respect democracy on the left. But somehow that blows my mind. People say it's reasonable. It's not. And then he says this.
And the governor is going to help because there's nobody better at this. It's called energy.
Exactly. And
we are going to, as I use this expression, now everyone else is using it, so I hate to use it, but drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill.
Yeah, so of course, drill, baby, drill was a 2008 Republican campaign slogan, so not exactly a new Trump thing. But also, we've hit record oil production under Joe Biden, so I don't know why that's a campaign talking point from Republicans. We are apparently drilling, baby, drilling. Now, another really important thing, just get ready, because Republicans have realized that they can't run on the economy because it's doing well. Thanks, Joe. They can't run on almost any policy issue because Democrats have more popular policy positions. So they've created this new supposed crisis, migrant crime. You'll see it everywhere across right-wing media. Instead of having any actual policy conversations like Biden, Democrats, and some Republicans want to have, these MAGA Republicans are just nebulously fear-mongering about migrant crime, as they call it. And the argument goes something like, migrants are causing a surge in crime thanks to Joe Biden, which is an interesting argument to make given this set of facts, as Chris Hayes nicely broke down last night on his show.
If you have tuned into right-wing media at all over the past few months, you might have noticed that after spending years beating the drum on inflation, Fox News does not really want to talk about the economy anymore. They sure as heck do not want to talk about abortion. So what is their new pet issue heading into the general election? So-called migrant crime. That's it. Honestly, you cannot overstate the deluge of coverage. At any given moment all day, Fox is either reporting on crime, just finishing a segment of crime, or about to run a segment on migrant crime.
Migrant crime is beginning to spiral out of control.
There's a migrant crime spree killing Americans.
Migrant crime wave.
The migrant crime crisis.
Migrant crime.
The growing immigrant crime crisis.
Every third day there's a story about some sort of migrant crime.
The drumbeat of propaganda has been moving not just Republicans, but public opinion overall in a really bad direction. A recent Pew poll found that a clear majority of Americans believe a large increase in the migrant population leads to an increase in crime. The problem is it's not true. It is simply not true. It is a right-wing invention. According to preliminary data from last year published by the New York Times, quote, the country is likely to see one of the largest, if not the largest, yearly declines in homicides. That's right. We are going to set a record in 2023 for a drop in homicides. So to recap, homicides saw a near record single-year spike under Donald Trump, and it now appears the largest single-year decline in homicides ever in American history happened under Joe Biden. And I will further speculate that if 2023 saw the biggest one-year increase in the homicide rate in recorded American history, everyone would know about it. But what's more, according to a new analysis from NBC News, quote, expert analysis and available data from major city police departments show, despite several horrifying high-profile incidents, there is no evidence of a migrant-driven crime wave in the United States. In fact, in many of the cities, like New York, that have taken in a huge amount of migrants, and really have been a lot, crime has gone down quite considerably.
So, of course, let's try to address issues at the southern border, enforce laws at the border as the administration has been doing. Let's address backlogs, invest in improving the general immigration system broadly. But let's not lie about the reality of the situation on the ground. The dehumanization and fear-mongering does nothing for anyone, except for, I guess, Fox News' ratings and Republicans' electoral prospects, which is really sad. Get on board with the policy proposals Biden and bipartisan Republicans are putting forward, endorsed by Border Patrol. Bring a counteroffer or shut up about it. If they're going to blame Biden, by the way, for every time they so much as stub their toe, okay? We've heard everything getting blamed on Biden for the last few years. Then it's time, Fox News, to go on the air and say, Joe Biden single-handedly is responsible for one of the largest plummets in crime in American history. That would be the consistent thing to do. You blame everything on him, time to give him credit for everything. If you have not watched episode 1 of Deprogrammed yet, the show where I spend a day with Trump supporters and see if I can convince them to give up their support for Donald Trump and literally throw their MAGA hat in the trash, make sure to go watch it. You can click up there. If I remember to put the little link on the screen, you can subscribe down there. But really click there if you haven't watched Deprogrammed yet.